I don't know if you know about our opening hymn, but Mark really likes it. He'd really like to have a banjo player here with that. And he teases me about sounding so country. And I have to confess to you today that we're going to go back to some of my family roots. And as I've told you, my family originates in the hills of West Virginia. And my grandfather was a snake handler in part of their religious practice. So if you will humor me in indulging in a little West Virginia lining, there's a hymn I'd like you to sing with me today, and I want to teach it to you as we start this homily. So I'll sing a line, and you'll repeat it. In Christ there is no east or west. In Christ there is no east or west, no south or north, no south or north, but one great fellowship of love, but one great fellowship of love throughout the whole wide earth, throughout the whole wide earth. And the whole hymn. In Christ there is no east or west, in him no south or north, but one great fellowship of love throughout the whole wide earth. In both today's reading from the Hebrew Scriptures and from our Gospel, we hear that God is gathering his people from the north, from the south, from the east and the west, and bringing them all together at his table. That's a marvelous image. It's an image which calls upon us to be a hospitable people, a people that must set aside their prejudices. And there are prejudices that exist in humanity. Some skinny folks don't like fat folks, and vice versa. And then, of course, we all know about the race car, where we have whites that don't like blacks, or Chinese, or whatever different color you happen to be, and those colors don't like the whites. And then you get to the fact where, oh, this person speaks Spanish, so I won't have anything to do with them. This person speaks French, no thank you. And unless you can speak French or Spanish, those cultures, same thing. All of those differences mean nothing to God. But what they do, when we let our prejudices take over our lives, we separate ourselves from our brothers and sisters. And that is contrary to the will of God. We hear today that at some point, we're all going to be called home. And when God locks those gates, and we show up late, who are you? I don't know you. But I sat in church every Sunday, God. Didn't you see me putting in my money in the plate? And then going out into the parking lot and cursing the person in front of me? You know, we're called upon to live a Christian life. And are we going to do it perfectly? No. Do I live it perfectly? Absolutely not. But we strive to do so. We strive to live that life that gives us the opportunity to dwell with God forever. We heard in our second reading the discipline of the Lord is rough. We have many people that stay away from the sacrament of reconciliation because they're afraid of what Father's going to say. But in staying away from that mercy and love of God that's given to us through the absolution of the priest, we fail to know that mercy of God, and we hold back from a full relationship with him, instead of going forward to encounter his mercy, to encounter his forgiveness, and yes, even taking our medicine. Now, I think most of you know Teresa of Calcutta, Mother Teresa. And everybody calls her, during her lifetime, a living saint. And most of the world was astounded to see in her own writings that for over 40 years she did not know the presence of God in her life. Yet, she kept on doing what she knew God expected her to do: love and serve others. And she accepted that dark night of the soul, as it's called by St. John of the Cross, as what she had to bear in this life. That was her discipline. That was God saying to her, show me you can do it without me. And she kept plugging away and plugging away and plugging away. You and I are called upon to plug away, to set aside our prejudices, to welcome everybody in. And in so doing, we will build that one great fellowship of love that we sang about in that hymn.